So, what if I told you that the biggest success story in modern Korean entertainment was also kind of a cautionary tale? Today, we're going to break down the animated film K-pop Demon Hunters. We'll look at its absolutely mind-blowing success and what it shows us about a billion-dollar paradox at the very heart of the Korean wave.
Okay, first, let's just try to wrap our heads around how huge this thing was. The film pulled in over 314 million views, and that's just on Netflix.
And get this, it wasn't just some flash in the pan. It sat at #1 on the global charts for 13 straight weeks. That's an entire quarter of a year at the top.
And on top of all that, the soundtrack was a monster hit in its own right. I mean, it did something that's never been done before. It put 4 songs in the Billboard Top 10 at the exact same time. Just incredible.
Yep, all these numbers belong to K-pop Demon Hunters, or KDH as fans call it. This project was so big it blew past giants like Squid Game and became a true cultural phenomenon.
So yeah, you could argue it's the most successful piece of Korean-inspired content ever. But all of that success brings up a really simple but also really complicated question.
And the answer to that question, well, that's where we get to this billion-dollar paradox. It's something that could really define the entire future of Hallyu, the Korean wave as it expands across the globe.
So here's the reality of the situation in a nutshell. While Korean creativity was the engine, the absolute fuel for this whole project, the vast majority of the money it made flowed completely outside of Korea.
So you're probably wondering, how did that happen? Well, this was a 300 billion won project. That is a massive undertaking. The domestic industry just didn't have that kind of capital to risk. So global giants like Netflix and Sony stepped in. They put up the money, they took the financial risk, and because of that, they got the reward. They own the IP, the intellectual property. That means they own the characters, the music, the story, the whole shebang.
Which brings up another question, right? How did KDH get so good that it could even attract that kind of massive global investment? What was the recipe?
Well, it definitely wasn't just luck. Industry experts have pretty much broken it down to a formula of 3 key ingredients that made this thing a masterpiece.
First, and this is probably the most important one, was authenticity. This story didn't come from some corporate boardroom with a checklist of K-culture trends. No, it came from director Maggie Kang, a Korean-Canadian and a legit K-pop fan who poured her own life and experiences into this story.
Second, KDH wasn't some wild shot in the dark. It was actually built on a foundation that had already been proven to work. Specifically, the success of KDA, that virtual K-pop group from the game League of Legends.
You know, one K-culture expert, Lee Byung-ha, put it perfectly. He said KDA's huge success with their song Pop Stars was like the perfect trial run. It proved that if you mix the K-pop formula with another big IP, you could have an explosion on your hands. And that gave investors the confidence to pour a ton of money into a huge project like KDA.
And the third ingredient was this incredible, almost obsessive attention to detail. They even nicknamed it Bong Tail, after the famous director Bong Joon-ho. For example, the team didn't just animate Seoul's Namsan Tower. They went and legally cleared the rights with the city. That stuff deepens the immersion, sure, but it also, really importantly, keeps you out of legal trouble down the road.
Okay, so you've got this incredible success story on one hand and this painful ownership problem on the other. Because of that, experts are now talking about a whole new playbook for the future of K-culture. The big idea is to shift from what's called the trickle-down effect, where you make a hit show and just kind of hope that it helps tourism later on, to a much more active approach called the fountain effect.
So what's the fountain effect? Well, it means you don't just wait for success to happen and hope for the best. You plan for it from day one. So instead of just hoping fans visit filming locations, you partner with the tourism board from the very beginning to create official tours, merchandise, and experiences that launch right alongside the main project.
And to actually make this new model work, 2 really big things have to change. First, domestic Korean investors need to find the courage to fund these massive global-scale projects themselves. And second, creators need to build in all those different ways to make money, tourism, goods, experiences, right into the IP's DNA from the get-go.
Now, switching to this new playbook isn't just some nice idea for down the road. It's actually becoming a huge priority, like right now. And here's why it's so urgent. The domestic K-pop market, which has been the engine driving the Korean wave for years, is showing some real signs of slowing down. As you can see, in the first half of 2025, both digital and physical album sales took a pretty noticeable dip compared to the year before.
So with the home market cooling off, the pressure is really on to find the next big growth engine. And that engine has to be global. And, this is the most important part, it has to be self-owned.
But as that expert Lee Byung-ha says, KDH isn't a failure. It's a lesson. He calls it a monumental work that has kicked the door wide open to K-Wave 2.0, a new era where Korean creativity can merge with Hollywood-level money and distribution.
So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. The world knows Korean culture is a global powerhouse. The question isn't about creativity anymore. The next great challenge is to make the leap from being the world's creative partner to becoming its next creative owner. And that leaves the entire industry with one final, very provocative question that's going to define its entire future. Will the next global phenomenon powered by Korean culture be something that's just rented from somebody else? Or will it be something that is finally, truly owned?
Thank you for watching K-Culture Times. Please subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and give this video a like. K-Culture Times delivers in-depth news on K-culture, like K-pop, K-food, and K-beauty. See you next time.